Hi, my name is Luz Arispe Sanchez, and this is my presentation on communicative competence. What is communicative competence? We must understand linguistic competence first. Linguistic competence is the ability to make and understand sentences that are well-formed and that are meaningful. Communicative competence is the ability to use these well-formed, meaningful sentences appropriately in communicative interactions. Communicative competence is being able to participate in conversations and produce monologue with others. What are the components of communicative competence? They are pragmatics, discourse, and social linguistic. Pragmatics is the ability to make things happen with words. Pragmatics has three components, which are intended functions, linguistic form, and effects on the listener. An example of intended functions would be a child asking his friend, "I want to borrow your ball today." The speech acts to request something. The linguistic form of this example is a declarative sentence because he says he wants to borrow the ball, and the effect on the listener, which is his friend, would be that his friend lets him borrow the ball or he decides to not let him borrow the ball. Discourse is a stretch of a speech that is longer than just one sentence. The components of discourse are connected discourse, which is the longer stretches of speech, conversations, which are when there are two or more people talking, narratives are longer speeches like a monologue. Social linguistic is how something is said differently in different social settings. For example, you ask your parents differently to give you money than you would ask your grandparents. You would probably be less demanding and more sweet when asking your grandparents. What does research say about communicative competence? Research explained by Constance Vogtwerk has shown that communicative competence is important to individuals so that they can maintain personal relationships such as marriages and friendships. Having a communicative competence allows people to have social connections and with this benefit their health and happiness. Vygotsky's theory. Social cultural theory is learning is a social process. Children's development with social interactions. Vygotsky's theoretical framework is that the social interactions that people have are a fundamental role with the development of cognition. Children's development with social interactions because they want to communicate with others. Children start to make babbling sounds with their parents because they want to communicate with them. Vygotsky's theory also introduces a zone of proximal development. In this zone, children are cognitively prepared, but they need the social interactions with peers, teachers, or parents to support them to fully develop. My case study child's name is Josie. She is seen having many different types of conversations with her dad. Josie's dad encourages Josie to speak. He asks her questions about New Year's resolutions, asks Josie to explain how to make brownies, and has her explain what she wants as a present. Josie's social interactions with her dad have helped her develop her communicative competence. Josie seems to be outgoing and expresses herself freely. Josie's phonological, lexical, and morphosynthetical competency. Josie is in the third stage of phonological development, which is the phonological processes stage. Josie shows phonological processes such as constant clutter reductions in her utterance when she says Ashley instead of actually in utterance 13 of the transcript. Josie's overall accuracy rate in the transcript was 81% and her error rate was 19%. Josie's lexical diversity is 0.64, which shows that she has a varied speech. Josie's mean length of utterance is 4.33. She is in the fifth stage as she is emerging new forms of complex sentences. How does Josie use language for pragmatics? An example of Josie using intended functions is in utterance 81 when she says, "I want it to copy me." Josie is wanting the doll to copy what she says, and that's why she wants the doll as a present. Linguistic form in utterance 81 is declarative. Effects on the listener, which are her parents, are that they will decide if they should get the doll. She is stating and declaring clearly why she wants the doll. Josie is explaining to her parents why she wants this doll from Santa Claus. She is communicating to them the concept of the doll so that they can understand why she wants to receive the doll. as a present, and the effect on the listener is that they will then understand why this doll means so much for her to receive as a gift. You can notice as you listen to this audio of Josie. How does Josie use language for discourse? Josie's utterance 13 through 18 are longer stretches of speech as she describes what part of the body cigarettes affect, as you can hear in this audio here.
Never, ever, 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 ever gonna smoke cigarettes.
That's a great...
Because it's good. It's not good for your heart, or it's not good for your brain.
That's true.
It's not good for your brain.
I got a good...
It's not good for your ears. It's not good for your eyes.
I've got a good...
She is having a productive speech with contingent responses. In this conversation between Josie and her dad, he was initiating the topic because he wants her to explore New Year's resolutions and to get a concept of what they are. Josie seems to not yet get the concept of New Year's resolutions. Josie's dad explains that New Year's resolutions do not have to be a never thing, as he mentions, but Josie keeps saying that her New Year's resolutions are to never snip my finger. In this instance, she does not repair her miscommunication. The communication between Josie and her father are age appropriate. Josie's dad is the one initiating the conversations and making it interesting to her, asking her questions about herself and her New Year's resolutions. Josie's narrative skills. Josie explains herself well. For example, when her dad asks her to clarify what she means when an utterance tense, she says, "I'm never gonna snip my finger." Josie's dad asks, "You're never gonna snip your finger? What do you mean?" Josie goes on to explain, "Snip my finger with scissors." Here she is heard being able to use pronouns such as my when she talks about herself never snipping her finger. Josie's in the second phase of narrative development because her narratives are still descriptions of general events, but her sentences are longer and she provides the new information such as what she means when she says, "I'm never gonna snip my finger." Josie's social linguistic competency. Josie seems to get a little sassy and girly in a way when she is speaking in front of her mom than when just her dad, and she constantly looks over at her mom. She also seems a little more aggravated with all the questions about what the doll she wants does. You can hear her tone change in this conversation when in the previous one about the New Year's resolution.
How does it copy you?
So if you say something, it says something.
Like what?
Like it says whatever you say.
Give me an example.
Already did.
No, like... Give me an example.
Like if you,
What's something you would say to it?
oh, like you
Make
said,
up.
if I say something, it would say something.
If I say something,
What if you say...
Del Himes explains how settings or emotional tones and interactions can influence the choice of language that speakers make. Consta Varg further explains that research has shown that bilingual children outperform monolinguals when it came to selective attention. Research shows that being bilingual is beneficial to children because they notice more of the environment around them. Research has also shown that bilingualism on cognition can be found in different social linguistic settings where children are acquiring the regional language. The research may show that the socioeconomic status of bilingual children did not make a difference in the results for having better selective attention. My reflection on communicative competence. Communicative competence is the ability to communicate with others. I have learned the importance for children to develop their communicative competence. As children, we must learn to appropriately talk to others. There is a lot that goes into communicating. It's important to have linguistic competency so that others understand our sentences clearly. We must have lexical diversity so that the sentences we make sense to others. It's important to develop narrative skills so that others around us are interested in what we are saying and we can communicate easily with them. Pragmatics gives our words the power to make things happen. Without being able to communicate appropriately and have intended functions in our speech, we would not successfully communicate our needs to others. And these are my references. Thank you.